This is a special podcast presentation from 700WLW.com. This is Casey Boland On Demand.
Casey Boland talking money here. The market, as we know, has been on a roll. It was a roll, in fact, throughout the end of the 20th century, on a bit of a roll right now. But, of course, Casey, we had a rough time in the first decade of the 2000s, as you know.
Yes, we did. Boy, that was referred to as a lost decade because from that 2000 through 2009 period, that 10-year period of time, the S&P lost on average 1% per year. You had the tech bubble in the beginning of the decade. You had the Great Recession near the late stage. It was an ugly period of time.
Yeah, so if you put $10,000 in at the beginning of the decade, you had $9,000 by the end.
Yeah, and that wasn't even accounting for inflation, taxes, or fees, so it didn't feel good whatsoever. But you have to put it in context because leading up to that point, you mentioned how it was such a great run. So for the 20-year prior to that lost decade, stocks were up more than 2,500%, or they averaged 18% per year. 18% per year. So 10,000. We know the lost decade went to 9,000. In that decade, 10,000 went to $260,000.
Yeah, and like you would say, and other financial people, it's peaks and valleys. Well, we know that. Just living life, there are going to be peaks and valleys in the market.
Well, there are. And even though we had that lost decade, there were other asset classes that still did okay. Emerging markets averaged 10% per year. Small cap value averaged 10%. Real estate investment trusts averaged 10%. So sometimes we hear about, hey, why shouldn't I put all the money in the S&P 500? Diversification. Don't put all your money in one place. Spread your money out. You actually could have had a respectable performance during that lost decade of stocks.
Okay, I'll buy it. Casey Boland, we thank you very much of Hangold Capital Management. We'll wrap this sucker up in a tidy little bow, about 5 minutes, 700 WLW.